Cool. I've tried recording this way too many times, and it's just stupid little mistakes. Anyways, I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly for you. Um, this isn't really much of a tutorial. It's just basically how I created it. So obviously, I made a particle system within my avatar. I'm gonna just call this weed. We're gonna set this to -90 so that it shoots upwards, as well as show us the shape. So right now it's a cone. That's kind of what we want it to be. Obviously we want the speed to be a little bit higher, so I'm going to set it to like 9. I'm going to set the simulation speed to 1.5 just so it's a little bit whatever. Simulation space to world so that whenever we move it around, you know, it does that instead of following our avatar everywhere. What else? Oh, gravity modifier. We want to set this to like 0.9. That way it can shoot out and do that. Also make the angle a bit higher, the radius a bit bigger. I'm going to set thickness to 0.5. And as well as a size over lifetime. I'm just going to set this to descending, add a key, select all of the keys, set them all to flat, grab your middle, grab the middle one, drag it up here. I don't know why this one didn't change to flat, but now it is. Cool. Now that we got that, basically what it's going to do is shoot out, start out big, and then get tiny until it's nothing. Just makes it look better when it disappears. Also, the lifetime, start lifetime. I'm just going to set this random between two constants. It's kind of self-explanatory what it does. It's random how long it stays out between these two numbers. What else? I believe that's about it. Oh no, collision. Go ahead and enable that. Set this to world so that it bounces off of everything, and set this number to point. We're just gonna set it to 0.8. You can obviously test this out by just making a plane and watching them bounce off. So if you like how that works, then you're good. You don't have to worry about it. Also, set the particle system itself a little bit higher off the ground, just so that when they spawn, they don't collide with the ground and kind of get glitched or go beneath the earth. I've had that happen a few times. Cool. So now that you got that and all the settings are configured the way you want it to be, go ahead and duplicate it. I mean, you don't have to do this, but I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna have one particle system for the weed and another one for the joint. So obviously, set the material for each one, and as you can see, yay, we got weed and joints. So that's basically the particle system right there. What I also did do is I created a game object within my avatar, dragged both of these there. I'm just going to rename it to particles. And what we're going to do here is this is where we're going to create the animation. So go ahead and add a component to that game object, animator. And in your projects folder, go ahead and create an animation controller as well as an animation. Call them whatever you want. I'm just gonna call this weed. Drag the controller onto your game object as well as the animation. Make sure you do it as controller first, that you drag in the controller first, and then you drag in the animation. Because if you don't, and the system doesn't already have a controller, it's just gonna make one called Particles 1, which it's not bad, but whatever. And now going into the animation tab with your Excuse me. With your game object highlighted, you'll get the animation, whatever, this thing. Here's the 60. I set this to 100 so that when we get to 1, that's 1 second. It's just easier to calculate, especially when using a program called Audacity, which actually we're going to use right now. So here I already have the song that I'm going to be using. It's Afro Man because I got high. And I want the particles to start where the bass starts, which is right here. And that's at 5.99. Also, make sure that it's at start and length of section, or start and length of selection. This is just the option that I like to use. I'm sorry about that. I'm really tired. Anyways, yeah, so once your marker is at the part of the song that you want it to start at, make sure you remember this number, 599. This last number really doesn't matter because you can't use it in Unity, so yeah. Cool. So we want the particle system to be inactive on the beginning of the song until we get to 599. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and highlight both of these. Make sure that the animation tab is still active. Click on that little record button and uncheck them. And then unclick the record button. So basically what we just did is when the song starts or when we are at 0, it's already going to be inactive. It's not going to start because they're not active until we get to 599. So go ahead and put that number up there in the top. It should move our little white line right here. And just go ahead and check these two boxes so that when this white line gets here, they become active. Cool. So that's basically the simplest way I can explain keyframing. You just find the time, and whatever time you want to do something, you do it with the white line being there. So yeah, if I wanted to go and do something at, let's say, 8 seconds, I'd go to 800, and let's say at 8 seconds I'd want the joint particles to stop but the weed ones to keep going. It's just gonna look like this. So just to show you, I'm gonna click play. So the white line's going, none of them are active until we get to 599, or yep, and then both of them are active, and then it gets to 8 seconds, and it may have looked like it may have looked like they both became inactive, but that's because it looped right back around. But yeah, when it gets to this frame, the joint becomes inactive, but we're not going to do that. That's just basically how this works. It's pretty simple. So that's how I got the two particle systems to work. And then we're going to go ahead and create an audio source for the music. I'm just going to call this Weed because, you know, really original. On my audio sources, I like to just remove the ONSP component. I don't use it. Once again, yawning. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, go ahead and drag your audio clip into there. Your output, I like to set it to master. And I also like to configure this a little bit and set my volume to something slightly higher, just so, yeah. And you can listen to it by clicking that.
It's like I don't care about nothing, man.
So I'm going to set it to like 6.70. That works. Right back to our weed audio. Yeah, go ahead and configure all these settings all you want. And once you're happy with them, I'm just going to go ahead and set this here. Set this outer circle to be a bit smaller. Cool. And once you're happy with that, go ahead and let me make sure I did. Yeah. So go ahead and duplicate your avatar and do the exact same thing as you would with any other gesture, which is obviously create another animation, call this gesture or whatever. Actually, I'm going to call it weed gesture. Also, if you do want to test out if it's on time or whatever, you can, oops, let me save it. I don't know. You can press this little play button up here, and then
It's like I don't care about nothing, man. Roll
yeah,
another blunt.
and now it comes out at the right part of the song. So that's kind of how you can test it out. It's just by pressing that and making sure that the objects that you want to become active when you do the gesture are already active, and then yeah, you're good. So like I said, duplicate your avatar, drag on your weed gesture or whatever gesture you want. Do that, go into the animation, and enable with whatever you want to be enabled upon activating the gesture, which is, for my case, this and this. Once they're both active, grab the last set of keys, put them to 1 so that there's no delay on the loop, and you're good. That's basically it. Obviously, create a new override if you don't already have one. Drag on your weed gesture to the override. I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry. Fist, finger point, victory, whatever gesture you want it to be. Just go ahead and drag this animation to that slot. And then, by default, you don't want it to automatically play. So, by default, set these to inactive. That way, when you spawn into the world, they won't be active. And once you start the gesture, huzzah, they will become active. And you're good. That's basically how I did it. It's pretty simple. As for the clout goggles coming down, it's basically the exact same thing with the animation. I just kind of had them start on top of my head at 0 keyframe, and then at 599, I put them down onto my face. That way, yeah, it basically just works. I don't know how to explain that, but keyframing is keyframing. You know, it's not too hard, and this is a pretty good overview of how it works. So yeah, there you go.